and city staff. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak or ask questions. Staff, click raise hand when you are asked a question. The chair will do their best to call on committee members in the order in which hands are raised. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the commission, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Ariana. Aiden, if you could call a roll, please.
Sure. Juliana Bennett.
She emailed Ariana at like 4:30 asking to be excused.
Okay. Marker. MGR Govindarajan. Looks.
I see he's here.
Yeah, he just joined, I think, or rejoined maybe.
Yeah.
So, Dina Nina Martinez Rutherford is potentially excused tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara Harrington McKinney.
I don't see her.
Ann Kovich.
Here.
Robbie Weber.
Here.
Denise Jess.
I'm here.
Pepe Barros.
Here.
Chris McCahill.
Here.
Haley Jameson.
Here.
And Lynn Olson.
Here.
And then Bill Bremer and Harold Cleams are both excused tonight.
Sorry, I had to rejoin. I'm also here. I also do have to leave at 6 p.m., just so you guys know for quorum purposes.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. And Lynn and Kaylee, you are both able to make motions and vote this evening because of those folks that we have who are absent. So first this evening, we have an honoring resolution honoring Renee Calloway for her service. So Yang, Tom, and I are going to read the resolution, and then we'll have hopefully a motion to approve and discussion from those who are here. And I would invite both members and staff to make comments as they wish. So Yang, go ahead.
Thank you, Anne. So I'll get started. Whereas Renee Calloway joined the City of Madison as the pedestrian bicycle administrator in Traffic Engineering Division in 2019, after working 7 years at the Madison Area Transportation Planning Board, which is our MTO, as a transportation planner, and many years at other agencies such as Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And whereas Renee Calloway was promoted to the assistant director position within the Traffic Engineering Division in 2024. And whereas while working in the Traffic Engineering Division, Renee Calloway took on many responsibilities and made significant contributions to the city's transportation system. And whereas Renee Calloway served as the lead co-manager for the development of Complete Green Streets Guide, a national model for how to distribute street space to all modes in an equitable manner and to reflect community values. And whereas Renee Calloway served as a co-manager for Madison's Vision Zero initiative, a data-driven strategy intended to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on the city's roadways, bikeways, and sidewalks, brought in her pedestrian bicycle expertise, and played a critical role in placing priority on safety of vulnerable road users. And I'll pass on the time.
And whereas Renee Calloway co-managed the Safe Streets Madison program, an organized and equitable way to distribute traffic safety improvements based on need and effectiveness, and to improve connectivity by closing gaps in the city's pedestrian and bicycle networks. And whereas Renee Calloway successfully transitioned the school crossing guard program from the Madison Police Department to the Traffic Engineering Division to create efficiency and synergy and to better serve our school-age children and their families. And whereas Renee Callaway helped facilitate traffic engineering's efforts in fostering smooth communication between office and field operations staff and providing strengthened support to field operations staff during challenging times such as staff shortages. And whereas Renee Callaway served as a member of the Traffic Engineering federal grant team and played a key role in securing and administering federal discretionary grants. And whereas, in addition to the above efforts, Renee Callaway continued to assist in the development and implementation of miles of bikeways and sidewalks as part of the city's capital improvement program. And then I think, Anne? Yep.
I'll take the baton now. And whereas Renee Callaway has been an exemplary public servant, and none of these initiatives would have been possible without Renee's uncanny ability to interact with other city agencies and stakeholders to achieve compromises and develop solutions. And whereas Renee Callaway is retiring from the city, and her last day in the office with Traffic Engineering Division is March 20th, 2025. And whereas Renee Callaway's influence on transportation policy will last long after her departure, and her impact on safe and sustainable transportation in Madison will be felt for decades. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Transportation Commission expresses its deep appreciation and gratitude to Renee Callaway for her significant contributions to the city's transportation system, and be it further resolved that the Transportation Commission and the entire Traffic Engineering Division wish Renee Callaway success as she pursues adventure, travel, and continued impact. So I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Robbie?
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. And now for discussion, I would invite both members of the commission and anyone else who is on the call to make comments. And we're well attended, I think, likely because Renee's being honored this evening. Robbie, did you wish to speak to your motion?
I would. I have known Renee via many different roles doing bicycle stuff for I think 25 years or maybe more. And I've seen her do many things and always done them well. And I think we have been extremely lucky to have her. I admit I was somewhat dismayed when I found out she was retiring, because I thought, oh, she's been doing such a great job, and who are we going to get that's going to be able to do as well, and that sort of thing. Fortunately, I think we have a very good backbench in Madison for filling positions such as this. But I just want to thank Renee for everything that she's done over the years. And since I'm Facebook friends with her, I know that she does a lot of traveling and a lot of adventures, and I am certain she will do more of those and probably have a little more free time to do them and not have to rush back to her job. So I just wanted to say, well done, Renee, and all of your roles, and happy retirement, and great adventures to you. So thank you.
Thanks, Robbie. Other comments? Alderman Daraja, go ahead.
Thank you. When I first became an alder about 2 years ago, Renee was one of the first few people that I met with in an alder capacity, and that's when I met Renee. And immediately I could tell that, oh my goodness, there's no one else in the city who knows more about biking than Renee does. She brought in such a energy and enthusiasm about biking that I have never, ever seen. And it will take a long time for me to see again. Renee, I am really sad that you are going to be leaving, but so excited for what brings what's happening for you next in life. I'm so excited that I did get the chance to work with you. All over the past 2 years, I wish it could have been as long as Robbie, truthfully. But I'm so excited for everything that comes next to you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Alder. Denise, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Renee, thank you so much. I know I sent you a note this afternoon, but I want to say this publicly. Just so grateful for your exquisite attention to the needs of our diverse populations in this city. I think it's powerful. Before I was on Transportation Commission, we had a number of meetings to discuss the needs of people who are blind and low vision in the city. And you approach those conversations with just a lot of integrity, a lot of curiosity, a lot of kindness, and a lot of concrete, practical thinking. So it's made a difference, helped give me also language in my advocacy work. And I'm just incredibly, incredibly grateful for that. And I will miss you. And I know that the department makes excellent, excellent hiring decisions. So you will have unique shoes to fill. And I'm just really excited that you get to live the next chapter of your life in the way that you want to. So congratulations and thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Pepe, go ahead.
Renee, congratulations. This is so exciting, and I feel so grateful to have crossed paths with you. Renee hired me when I worked for the city, and we met before that in working for Just Bikes Coalition. And, Renee, you were always really, really supportive, assertive, and encouraging. I think are the words that are coming to my mind right now, because you continue to support, not just the dreams of the equity team and the city, but also my dreams. You were always like really encouraging that I could grow through the city and make things come true. And I have this really funny memory of one day that I was struggling with putting together some projects for the city that might not happen, or I think it was middle of the pandemic, maybe we were working on something, and you just gave me such perspective coming out of a meeting, and you said, well, Pepe, I just came out of this meeting, and the discussion that we had probably will make an impact after I die, so I won't even see the results of what I'm working on. So that was just huge perspective, and it gave me really the idea of how important it is to serve in the in the public sector and the government, how we many times make this investment that we will make people's lives better far away from now and beyond. So thank you for having that mentality, Renee, of serving and thinking not just for the present, but for the future of our city. And I wish you the best on all your travels and adventures, and hopefully we get to ride some bikes together. So congratulations again.
Thanks, Pepe. Chris, go ahead.
Thanks. So I think Yang was talking at one of these meetings not too long ago about how it's a fairly new concept that someone who wasn't trained as an engineer could take a leadership role in an engineering department. And I think, Renee, you've shown that not only can you do that well, but you bring a lot to the role that probably someone who's been steeped in engineering for a while doesn't. So thanks to Renee for setting that precedent, and for the city for recognizing that and putting you in the position in the first place.
Thanks, Chris. Other comments or questions? I also wanted to publicly thank you, Renee. Not only do you have a wealth of knowledge that helps us at the Transportation Commission make better decisions, but you have such patience and grace when you deal with people. And because of those communication skills, you are a wonderful role model for people like myself who aren't the most patient people in the world. Just to show everybody what you can accomplish if you have a little patience and you have a little grace, and you allow people to express themselves, which gives us additional information to make better decisions. And that patience helps reach resolution. And that's huge, because all of these projects that we talked about in the resolution, I mean, I know from working on Safe Streets Madison, just one of them, how much time it takes and how much work it is to do all of that. And you worked on so many important things that Madison residents will benefit from for decades. So really, not only do I thank you for your contribution, but I thank you for being such a great role model. And you'll be missed. But I'm retired and I love being retired. So I'm really happy for you, and I hope you enjoy retirement as much as I do. Any other comments? Otherwise, I'll Yang or Tom, did you have anything to say? And then we'll let Renee make some comments too.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I think we have come so far in the last 6 or 7 years. And I think it's in large part that's due to Renee's kind of unique set of abilities. You know, she has a work ethic like no one else. She has a value set that's very progressive, equity-based, and sustainability-based. And then she was able to interact in the human environment, like you said, Anne, to get people to yes. Mm-hmm. And so, and because she was able to get people to yes, worked hard, and had these values, we've come a long way. And I'm going to just give her a lot of credit for how far we've come.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Alder Harrington McKinney.
Thank you very much, and I apologize for logging on late, but I have to add and ditto everything that has been said so far, and I want to put my voice in. And so you have been, Tom, you nailed it, because she has a unique way of getting to a yes. And that yes means bringing sides together in a place where they can do the yes. I mean, that is a skill set that many people don't have. And so I salute you on your retirement, but I absolutely thank you for the role model that you are, so that we can begin to stay on the table and work toward what that space is. And that space is a yes. That means that you have to give, you have to take. But if you are able to work into that space of a yes, it does well for the community, it does well for the city, it does well for so many of us who are in the city, and we are representing the populace. And so thank you so very much for your commitment to the city. Thank you so much for the integrity that you bring to the space. And I just wanted to add that. And so congratulations on your retirement. You will be missed, but you set the bar high. And we make a commitment that we might not be able to achieve what you achieved, but we will continue to work together so that we can be in that space of a yes. So congratulations, and thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak.
Oh, absolutely, Alder. Thank you for those comments. Yang, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. Yeah, if nobody else wants to speak, I want to speak briefly on Renee. I've been, thanking Renee at basically all many important meetings in the last couple of weeks, but still feel like there's not enough to express my gratitude for her. I'm really glad that we're able to get her on board, a few years ago, and she definitely has been a huge asset for traffic engineering team, for the whole city, for our whole community. She definitely left a mark and make things better for all of us. And I really want to, thank Renee for, always saying yes when I ask her, take on, a major responsibility on top of her already very full plate. She always had very positive attitude, and she always being very inclusive in her approach. And I'm really glad that we have spent last few years together. And also I want to thank for her trust in me and working on many things together. And also taking on the challenge as being the assistant director, as Chris mentioned, of kind of engineering department as a non-engineer. That's actually by design, and she has done that really well. And I think my next big challenge is going to be figure out how to replace her. So thank you, Renee, and the best wishes from all staff to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Yang. Eric, go ahead.
If I can just add my 2 cents as an attorney. Renee's expertise has been invaluable for me in terms of understanding the challenges and difficulties facing the city when it comes to everything from micromobility, our shared use paths to grant funding. She's been one of the first people that I go to when something is confusing or novel, and she's been a font of knowledge, and she will be missed. So congratulations, Renee, and all our best to you in your new adventures.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody else with comments for Renee? David.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to say real quick, I mean, what everyone said here tonight, very spot on. And this is, talking from the inside, so to speak, as a staff member. And although our time did not cross over for all that long, I've only been with the city about 1.5 years. But I can tell you that actually Renee's presence after my interview, I specifically recall being brought around the office and stopping in some offices, and she popped in, and I just remember how nice she was. And I'll be quite honest with you, she actually was part of the decision for me to even come to the city. So that she has a very warm, welcoming personality, and definitely is going to be missed by everyone here. So thanks for that short time, Renee, that we were able to work with, and somewhat jealous of your future, what do you call it, Chief Stoke Officer, right? That's going to be a great role for you to take on, and man, just enjoy retirement. It's going to be awesome, and best wishes. Thank you.
Any other comments before I ask Renee to put her on the spot and allow her an opportunity to make some comments? Renee, go ahead.
All right. Well, everyone here knows I do appreciate a short Transportation Commission meeting, so I'll keep this brief. It is, of course, bittersweet because I feel so strongly about the work that we're doing here around walking, biking, sustainability, equity, all of that, as you noted, but also excited to be able to walk and bike more in a wide array of places in my retirement. And if you ever want to feel good about yourself, just retire and then let people tell you how much they appreciate you. It is very nice, but it takes a team. I couldn't have done any of those things without all the staff that come here and staff that you've probably never even met. And I can leave this job feeling good because we have an amazing team at the city who works so hard and believes in this work. And also the team here on this Transportation Commission, people who give up a lot of Wednesday nights for some hard decisions and some tough conversations. So I just want to appreciate you guys doing that. And I just would ask the next time I'm at the committee if Aiden could ring that buzzer really quietly for me after 3 minutes. Who knows when they might do a project on my own street that I have an opinion about or in my neighborhood. So quiet on the buzzer after 3 minutes for me. but just keep up the good work. I feel so lucky to live in a city like this one where you can get around using all the different modes, and definitely going to sign up for all those newsletters to my personal account so I can see all the good work that continues forward. So thank you all for the hard work that you do and that you will continue to do. Thanks. And, I will be enjoying walking and biking here in my own city as well as places abroad and throughout the country.
Well, virtual round of applause for Renee. And thanks so much. I'm going to assume a unanimous consent vote. I can't imagine anybody wishing to vote no or abstain, but I'll give you that opportunity. And seeing none, the resolution is passed unanimously, and I'll make sure that Aiden gets you a copy of it, Renee. Thank you so much. You will be so missed, but it's exciting for you to move on to this next fun part of your life. So again, thanks so much, Renee. Okay. We will miss her for sure. So now we have to go back to minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting? Chris?
Move approval of the minutes.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, McKinney.
Okay, Alder McKinney seconds. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no hands, I'm going to assume a unanimous consent vote unless anybody wishes to vote no or abstain. Denise?
I'll abstain, Anne, since I was absent.
Okay. All right. So with that one abstention, the motion is carried. Aiden or Ariana, do we have any public comment? I know we had an email, but did we have anybody registered to speak under item number 2 for public comment?
We do not.
Okay. How about any disclosures or recusals this evening? Okay, I'm seeing no hands. All right, we have 2 items proposed for the consent agenda, items number 3 and 4. Do we have anybody registered to speak on either 3 or 4?
No, we do not.
Okay. And does anybody wish to have either item 3 or 4 separated from the consent agenda? Okay, I'm seeing no hands. So we have item 3, which is Legistar 87402 with regard to the city executing agreements with intercity bus providers. And item 4, Legistar 87403, authorizing the city to execute a competitive service contract with AECOM Technical Services related to the Perry Street Overpass Reconnecting Communities project. We need a motion for the consent agenda. We have a motion, please. Chris?
Yeah, move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, there's a motion by Chris. Pepe, is that a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I assume no discussion since it's the consent agenda. Okay, I'm going to assume a unanimous consent vote unless anybody wishes to vote no or abstain. So please raise your hand. Okay, that motion is carried. Then we move on to item number 5 with regard to WISDOT's recommendation on North Stoughton Road project. Tom?
I'll do a quick presentation. Let me get the correct. slideshow up. Okay. So the Wisconsin Department of Transportation released their environmental assessment for the North Stoughton Road project. This project has been approved for funding. The public hearing was last night at Madison College. They are taking written comments until April 17th. What this resolution focuses on is the southwest quadrant of the Stoughton Road, East Washington intersection. This is what they are proposing right now in their environmental document. One is a slight realignment. This is Schmiedeman right here, where I have the arrows, and they are allowing the eastbound left into Schmiedeman, but they are not going to allow a westbound left because they fear that perhaps that would promote development or promote traffic from development. One of the reasons why the city kind of advocated for an at-grade solution rather than a jug handle was it allowed the southwest quadrant to be redeveloped into maybe a higher and better use. In fact, if you look at Fair Oaks, which is just one block to the west, we are starting to see quite a bit of housing going in. And so this, would be, a candidate intersection to have some higher density uses. By not allowing that left, they create quite a bit of indirection. A person could either go down to Fair Oaks, take a left on Fair Oaks, take a left on Lexington, and then take a left into that area. So, that's quite indirect. It probably would be discouraging for most developers. The alternative would be to make a U-turn, which is shown in green at an unsignalized intersection. And, I think many of us have driven on East Washington Avenue, and that's not a desirable movement, right? Perhaps even a third alternative would be to use, the eastbound left turn opening incorrectly. Their concern, has to do with perhaps, let's say the left turning demand gets so high that left turning that it starts to queue. And I think what we are saying is that we have many intersections which allow a left turn in both directions. So this is a picture of Livingston and East Washington, and I'm going to try and describe this. I maybe should have put a plan view in, but you see how the westbound left, you're able to make a left turn into Livingston, right? And then you can also see how there's a left turn in the eastbound direction into Livingston. But notice that the cross movements on Livingston are not allowed. So this type of intersection can be signalized with very little delay, to the through movements, yet still preserves those left turning movements so that there's a way to address the queues. We have a similar intersection just like this over on the west side. This is a University and Marshall by University Station. You can see where you have, I don't know, can you guys see if I annotate, here you have kind of a left turn diverter, which allows the left turns, but prevents through movements. And again, this is signalized. And let me, we have another, a similar situation. Let me, University in Hilldale Way. Again, left turns are allowed. The through movements on the side street are not allowed. It's signalized. And so what this resolution is it's asking for Wisconsin DOT to preserve the westbound left turn lane in so that that land would have perhaps a higher use that would be of more value to the city. There was one comment that I think was, I'm not sure if it's in Legistar. I'm not sure if it was emailed to the members of the TC or not. But it did ask for the pedestrian movements to be preserved. Currently, there is an RFB at Schmiedemann, and you can cross East Washington. And that's a valid comment. I don't think that we will get the Wisconsin DOT to install a signal immediately until there's a need for a signal. But the resolution, if you wanted to address that one comment, which is a valid comment, this could be recommended to be added onto the resolution. Be it further resolved, Madison requests that the intersection maintain its pedestrian crossing control with either an RFB or a signal, and that could just be inserted. But you would have to recommend that as a body, and then probably an alder on this committee would have to introduce a substitute resolution. Is that correct? Eric? Is Eric here? Eric might not be here.
Yeah, say that again.
Well, if the Transportation Commission wanted to alter this resolution a little bit, they could recommend this phrase be incorporated into it, and then would. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think an alder on TC would have to do it. I think any alder could do it, including the sponsoring alder could do it as could amend.
Yeah, this was I think the mayor sponsored this. I had to get this into the Legistar rather quickly because, as I said, the public hearing was just last night, and so for us to get this in, we had to rush it into Legistar. So I'll leave that at that, and then I'll kind of use this as a talking point. And I believe there are questions. Anne, sorry. You're muted, Anne.
Sorry, I was coughing before, so I muted myself. I don't believe there's anybody registered to speak, is there? But I just want to double check.
That's correct. There is none.
Okay. Alder Harrington McKinney, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to comment. Yes, any alder can bring that forth in terms of recommendation if there's an amendment. But if alders who serve on the Transportation Commission, I would hope that we would be, or whomever, whichever alders are serving on the Transportation Commission would be supporting any amendment as well. And so I just want to make sure that there is no overlooking of the alders that are assigned to be facilitators on the Transportation Commission.
Thanks, Alder. Pepe, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom, for presenting. Sorry if I missed one part, but would you mind speaking a little bit more about why is it that they're not allowing this? Like, where is this resolution coming from? What's their logic?
Well, I think I'll try and describe it from the Wisconsin DOT's point of view, it had been their desire to make this actually a grade separated intersection. They wanted this to be a jug handle. It was only through, I'm going to say, the advocacy of Madison that they kind of agreed to maintain this as an at-grade intersection. They're concerned that if there's a, I'm going to use pink. If there's a development that goes in here, it won't take too much for this to become a level of service F movement, and they prefer not to have a level of service F movement or to have queues. And so that's why they haven't incorporated it in their design.
Thank you.
Chris, go ahead.
Thanks, Tom. Just looking for a little clarification on what we are tasked with here, because I see in the text in Legistar, it does call for opposing the elimination of the left turn and retaining the left turn with a crosswalk and RRFB. Is there something additional that you're looking for?
Actually, so does it, did we, so I wrote that resolution, so so maybe we already have the language for maintaining the pedestrian crossing in the Legistar.
It looks like it, in which case you'd just be looking for us to recommend approval of that. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for, yeah, thank you.
Someone else should look, but I think so.
That's my oversight. You only have to deal with my oversights for one more meeting, but then, so.
Well, I guess the question is, Chris, it's, it does say, be it further resolved that the city of Madison requests that WSDOT retain the westbound left turn from East Washington onto Schmiedemann Avenue within the preferred alternative, retain the existing marked crosswalk and RRFB with the understanding that future traffic conditions may require partial signalization of the intersection. So does that accomplish what you want? You were talking about, Tom?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to approach it. I don't think the Wisconsin DOT will signalize this until there's a need to signalize it, but it does maintain the existing, because right now there is an RFB and there's a crosswalk.
Yeah, so I think it was just sort of like included in that in the body of that last one. That's where you saw, Chris, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Thank you for pointing that out, and I apologize for not looking more closely.
It's okay. I think perhaps people were looking to maybe make a point about it as a separate item. That might be the case as well. Other comments or questions? We would need a motion to approve or to recommend, I should say, this resolution to the Common Council. If you are so inclined, Robbie?
Move that we recommend this resolution to the council.
Denise?
I can second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Robbie, did you wish to speak to your motion?
No, not necessarily. I think that Tom has laid out the reasons why this is important, and hopefully the alders that are on this committee can explain to their colleagues why this is important as well. I think it's an excellent point that, you know, we have a parcel that might end up being redeveloped, and you know, having that connection is very important, and certainly a connection across East Washington for people walking or biking would be especially important, seeing as how this is, you know, the BRT corridor as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Other comments or questions? Any discussion? Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'm seeing no hands. I'm going to assume a unanimous consent vote unless anybody wishes to vote no or abstain. If so, please raise your hand. Okay, no hands? And it's passed unanimously. Thanks, Tom. Okay, we move on to the traffic signal priority list review and approval. Is that Jerry? Or Dave and Jerry?
Yeah, I think David's on too. Can take off first.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is meeting number 2 for the annual traffic signal priority list to be presented to TC. So as you recall from the last meeting when we talked about this, which was January 8th, there was a list of intersections that was recommended, that staff recommended, and then ultimately TC members approved of that list to conduct further study. So we're presenting that final recommendation list tonight. And Jerry's going to go over a lot of the details, but I'll just give more of a overview of the 9 intersections that we studied. There's actually 3 of them that we're recommending for installation of traffic signal. So first one on the list, and I know this is one that has been discussed at TC at some length, which is a Southwest commuter path and West Wash. And I think to no surprise that this one met warrants, and we understand that this is already approved and everything. So this is more or less of a formality just to show you that we did our due diligence, looked at the traffic signal warrants, and actually were of the warrants. To no surprise, should be the warrant number 4, which is the pedestrian warrant. This one actually was about 4 times exceeding the limit for threshold for that warrant, which is again probably not of surprise, but I think it gives some level of confirmation that that signal is needed at this location. Second location is Milwaukee Street and Sprecher Road, and this location is already. I mean, when you drive it, it almost feels like it should be signalized, and I think that some of the public feedback that we've gotten over the years is that because it's multi-lane, you have turn pockets, almost feels like it should be signalized, and we were able to support that with the information from the study that it did meet the volume threshold warrants, and also to note is that we already have some signalized infrastructure in place at this location. So when it was reconstructed last, there were some signal appurtenances put in place, such as the underground conduit, some handholds at the quadrants, and also a pad for a future signal controller. I believe it's in the southeast corner. So that would be the second one we're recommending. And then 8th on the list is Fish Hatchery Road and Martin Street. This actually is not signalized at this point in time, but this is also somewhat tied into the discussion with West Washington South Commuter Path, where OCR had come back and advised us to think of some sort of a plan to remove the RFB because it doesn't have the ability to interconnect with the rail crossing that's near the existing crossing. So engineering right now is working on a relocation of the Cannonball Path. And so as part of that relocation of that path, realignment to the north, the intersection of Martin looked like a good location to have a diagonal crossing for the bike path. And that's in the works right now. So accordingly, we would look at signalizing that intersection with this bike accommodation. So overall, those are the 3 that we're recommending. And depending on the discussion tonight and the recommendation from TC, if indeed these 3 are approved, or any one of them for that matter, we would then take these and design the traffic signals. If there are assessment districts to be created, that would happen. We'd move forward with that. Go ahead and with those plans, get them authorized for a public works contract, construct the signal, and then when it is completed, then a final assessment schedule would be done based upon the actual costs. So with that high overview, I'd like to turn it over to Jerry Shippa, who can provide more detail on each of these locations.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'll just share my screen, and we'll go over the report. So I think David did a good job at covering the locations that we are recommending for a traffic signal. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through those. So as he said, West Wash, Southwest Commuter Path, which already has been discussed at this committee. Milwaukee Sprecher, we are recommending a traffic signal. It meets minimum numerical volumes. Being an all-way stop, it's a little tricky to compare that with the traffic signal warrants, which are kind of more geared towards two-way stop control. But we did take a look at some different intersection control analysis, and we found kind of either always stop, traffic signal, roundabout. They're all a pretty good level of service. We kind of got into how we would operate the signal there, and it would operate free, so uncoordinated with any other signal. We try to get it as quickly as cycling as possible. We also took a look at some comparable intersections, so multi-lane approach, four-way signals, some of which used to be a always stop control, so Raymond and Whitney Way and Raymond and McKenna, just to kind of see what crash types are they experiencing, because the kind of the size and layout are somewhat similar. And at those intersections, we found over half of the crashes at both of them were left turn angle crashes. So operating this as a traffic signal, we would at a minimum look at time of day protected only left turns, just because we don't want to go into a signal and kind of walk into the same crash types as we're experiencing at other similar intersections. So that was that's Milwaukee and Sprecher. The next one that we're actually not recommending installing a traffic signal, but does meet traffic signal warrant, is the Henry Mall and University Avenue crosswalk. We looked at both the Henry Mall and University and Henry Mall and Campus, kind of independently, but also at the same time. And the reason is because the pedestrian crossings there are very different. There's a lot more activity at the Henry Mall University Avenue crosswalk than there is at the Campus and Henry Mall crosswalk. But we're not recommending installing a traffic signal, primarily because this is within 300 feet from two other traffic signals, or two other signalized crosswalks. We have some signal timing at Randall, which provides fairly long all red intervals, so that twice a cycle you should have enough time to get about halfway or maybe even more across the intersection before oncoming traffic is released. So we're kind of using our tight proximity of traffic signals in a way to help this mid-block crossing. We have not seen any reported crashes in the last 12 months. In the last 5 years, there was one crash that was pinned at this location, but the details of the crash make us believe that that was not actually at this crosswalk, because it mentioned a driver running a red light. Excuse me. So we believe that that crash actually might have occurred at Babcock. But even if that was here, there's one crash in the last 5 years, so we don't have a major crash problem here. And then just kind of one final comment after watching the traffic camera here and kind of seeing how people use it. It seems to be a crosswalk that is it's a convenient crosswalk, and I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory terms, but I think it's one where someone's walking down the street, they want to cross to the other side of the street. If they happen to walk up and time it just right, they'll cross there. Otherwise, they'll cross down to at the next signal at Randall, because a lot of the crossings, especially from the north, will cross and then continue heading east to Randall and University. So it's not like there's a unique destination that you can't get to otherwise. So we're recommending keep it as a marked crosswalk. And keep the signal timing so that we can kind of create that gap every cycle. And then the next intersection is American Parkway Hepker. So similar to Milwaukee and Sprecher, it's a multi-lane, four-legged approach, always stop, kind of a big intersection. This has less traffic, but has a few more crashes. It does not meet traffic signal warrant. It's kind of hovered near the top of the list or just shy of meeting warrant for a while now. Traffic volumes out here have not consistently risen. We've had numbers going back about a decade, and up until this last study, the traffic volumes here have been relatively flat, which, that might change. There may be an interchange at Hepker and I-94, so that might change things out here. But at the moment, it doesn't meet traffic signal warrant. Has a few more crashes than Milwaukee and Sprecher, but not enough to meet the crash warrant either. Rosa Road, Old Middleton Road. We took a look at this along with when we were analyzing operations. We looked at it with Old Middleton and Old Sauk. But when we look at the crashes, we only looked at this particular intersection, and we didn't find any crashes in the last 5 years, any reported crashes anyways. The signal does not meet traffic signal warrant. We would probably have to signalize both this and Old Sauk, just because of how close they are together, and we have some concerns about providing a signal for that eastbound movement coming down the hill, just because some of the crashes that do exist at that intersection are kind of drivers losing control coming down the hill in icy conditions. Giving someone a green light coming down that hill has us a little concerned. And then we looked at potentially putting an always stop at Rosa, but again, had some concerns about the eastbound stop sign causing some issues back at Old Sauk. So we are recommending maintaining it as a two-way stop control intersection with the rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Milwaukee Street and Thompson. So this is just down the street over the bridge from Milwaukee and Sprecher. This intersection does not meet traffic signal warrant. Has about a little over a crash a year over the last 5 years. 3 of those 7 crashes in the last 5 years were types considered correctable. So not a lot of crashes out here. We do believe that a lot of the traffic out here is coming from drivers coming off Highway 30, heading southbound, then making a left onto Milwaukee Street. And kind of looking at both this one and Milwaukee and Sprecher, with thinking about in about 10 years when a ramp might go in with the highway. If that happens, we believe some traffic will divert from the Milwaukee Street Thompson intersection and go to that ramp and potentially get put into the Milwaukee Street Sprecher intersection. So kind of the looking down the road a bit, this one maybe makes a little bit less sense for a signal, but Milwaukee Street and Sprecher makes a little bit more sense for some signal. So we are not recommending installing a traffic signal here and maintaining stop control. Next is Cottage Grove, Maher, and Royster Oaks. It's two-way stop control intersection with a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Not a lot of crashes here. 1 in the past 12 months, 4 in the past 5 years. 2 of those 4 considered correctable. So not Not much here in terms of what we could correct with a traffic signal. Doesn't meet traffic signal warrant. So we're recommending maintaining the two-way stop with rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Fish Hatchery Road, Martin Street. As David said, this one is primarily driven off the engineering project and the order from the OCR. This one doesn't meet traffic signal warrant. We looked at some path crossings of Fish Hatchery Road and assumed those crossings would go up to Martin Street. However, there's kind of a odd combination of many things that aren't necessarily reflected in the signal warrants that we do believe that this would it would be beneficial to have a signal here. So we have a path crossing of a major arterial where we don't quite have enough users to meet the signal warrant, but we also have a community to the west that has no other exit from that community onto the arterial other than this or Carver Street. So a signal here would provide them with some kind of higher control out of their neighborhood. We're potentially looking at some driveway considerations nearby and some side street, how we would kind of operate the side street just to the north on the east side of the intersection. And we just kind of feel like there's enough of a lot of things, but none of those individual things meet any of the signal warrants that we do feel justified in putting a traffic signal at this location with the project, along with the order that we have to remove the rectangular rapid flashing beacon from the crossing near the railroad tracks. And the final one is actually a request to remove an existing traffic signal. And we put that on the list just because we don't have like a opposite of this list where we're removing signals, but this was kind of the closest we could come to is adding it here. So we looked at Odana and Potomac. We went back and the oldest record of this intersection that we have was it going into operation in November 1996. Don't have any records going back that far as to why, but if I were to guess, it would be due to a development going in, as well as if you look at the signal spacing, which is very similar to Atwood Avenue, which answers the question of why is there a signal at Atwood and Hudson. It's this intersection is equidistant to the other traffic signals on Odana Road. So I would guess in 1996, when they installed this signal, it was because it kept good signal spacing along Odana, so you could have coordination. You could get that platooning effect, and there was probably some development going in nearby. Again, I don't have any evidence of that, but just kind of knowing why the signal at Atwood and Hudson exists where it exists, this is a very similar situation. We looked at the crashes here and kind of, again, flipped our signal warrant on its head and said, well, are there any crashes here that are caused by a traffic signal? So do we have a bunch of rear end crashes? Do we have anything that indicates people were confused by a signal or anything like along those lines? And we didn't find any. We found 2 crashes, and they were nothing we felt were caused by this traffic signal. Excuse me. And so the final thing we checked was just visibility. So went out there and just kind of parked on the side street and looked at the different directions, and it existing or as it is today, there's not terrible visibility. Odana's can be kind of a busy road, and with potential new development coming in there, especially looking in this view in the eastbound direction, traffic's coming down a hill around a corner. Imagine there's a building there. We do kind of feel like eventually visibility will be a little bit worse than it is today. Excuse me. And then the fact that there's a development going in there now, we don't really feel like now is a good time to remove a signal when a development is going in, and probably was planning on using that traffic signal. So we are recommending leaving that in place. So that is, I guess I'll stop there and we can answer any questions.
Okay, I don't believe so, but do we have anybody registered? I just want to double check. Anybody registered to speak on this item?
We do not.
Okay, and just to confirm, at the March 5th TC meeting, we did approve signalizing the traffic signal at West Washington and the Southwest commuter path in response to the OCR order related to that intersection. But in order to be neat and tidy, they wanted it on the list of approved traffic signals, so anybody looking for it could definitely find it. So comments or questions? Chris.
Thanks, Jerry. Wanted to ask you about Sprecher and Milwaukee. We got a lot of comments about a roundabout, and I saw you analyzed it, and it actually performed pretty well. Can you just talk through your considerations when thinking about that, what that would look like, given that that would require reconstruction, which I'm guessing isn't anytime soon? Or Tom?
Jerry, do you want to take it first?
Yeah, I'll quickly just touch on the analysis, and then Tom, if you want to step in with kind of budgetary discussion. So yeah, we took a look at how the current volumes would look with a single lane roundabout. So just one lane coming on each approach, and then a multi-lane roundabout, which with today's volumes would probably mean a 2-lane northbound, southbound, and a 1-lane eastbound, westbound. Now, in the future, with a ramp to the east, I don't know what that, necessarily what that would require. It might mean just a multi-lane roundabout all around, or, maybe a 2-lane northbound, southbound, and 1-lane eastbound, westbound would still be fine. But either way, with today's volumes and any of those configurations, a roundabout did perform very well. But as was already kind of mentioned, this decision was almost made many decades ago when this road was built the way it was, plumbed for a signal bases and services put in. It kind of forces us down this path. And Tom, you can jump in and say kind of the cost of retrofitting a signal or intersection into a roundabout.
Yeah. The Wisconsin DOT, when you create intersections, they make you do an intersection control evaluation. And that's actually a good time to decide, are you going to do a signal or a roundabout? But after it's been built, the infrastructure is there. So to retrofit a roundabout in this location would be $2 to $3 million. And so instead of a signal cost of $300,000, we're looking at $2 to $3 million. And I'm going to say for 20 of the years that I've been in transportation, I really advocated for roundabouts. I'm less enthused about them just because I feel like they're not necessarily as good for, like for instance, people that have visual challenges or the like. It's just harder to cross as a pedestrian and a cyclist. So, this would have been a good discussion to have maybe 15 years ago. Right now, we have the infrastructure in place for a signal.
Thanks. That's what I figured. I just figured it'd be helpful to talk it through.
Yeah. And I'll also add to that. We have in the past taken signals out and replaced them with roundabouts, like on Pleasant View Road and Blackhawk. I believe we took out a signal, and that was replaced with a roundabout. So it's not necessarily like once we put in a signal, it will always be a signal. Maybe when this road is reconstructed in 15, 20 years, which I know is a long ways down the road, but there's a possibility that it gets reevaluated at that point.
Helpful to have that additional information, particularly in response to the comments we got from the public. Other comments or questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. The request is to approve the traffic signal priority list as presented by staff is the request. Robbie,
Move approval of the staff recommendations.
okay. There's a motion to approve staff's recommendation. Is there a second? Denise?
Yeah, I can second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Robbie, did you wish to speak to your motion?
No, I just had a comment and I had my hand up because I was going to ask the same thing that Chris basically asked about Sprecher and Milwaukee. So, that was my only question for that list, but the rest of it seems, like it's well thought out and good choices.
Okay, thanks. Discussion. Okay, seeing no hands, I'm going to assume a unanimous consent vote unless anybody wishes to vote no or abstain. Okay, I'm seeing no hands. Hey, the motion carried unanimously. Thanks, Dave and Jerry and Yang for all your work on this. Much appreciated. Okay, next we have the Department of Transportation Annual Operations Report. Tom.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. So in the ordinance that created the Department of Transportation, it also mentioned that we should submit an annual report. So this will be, I think, the 5th one that I've submitted. With this report, I like to provide just a little background on trends that we're seeing. One trend that we are seeing is that since COVID, many of our local streets have reduced traffic volumes. And so while many of the state roads, such as the Beltline and the interstate, are seeing increasing volumes that have kind of matched what's occurring prior to COVID, we continue to be down. This is probably partially due to remote work. You know, some people are working from home, so arterials like East Washington leading to the business core don't have as much traffic. And I'm also going to say it's partially due perhaps to the flex lane, and people are using some of the state routes rather than local routes to get places. This may change as we, in the next couple of years, we'll be reconstructing General and Drive and perhaps reconstructing Park Street. And so that may, change the way people get to places, and our local roads might see a little bit more. Here you can see this is the Beltline at about 106% of what was occurring in 2019. VMT is also up. We've been asking the Greater Madison Metropolitan Planning Organization to help us calculate the VMT for Madison, because it's part of our performance measures for Vision Zero. And so this year, rather than run the whole year with streetlight data, which is actually quite, it's a lot of big data because it's using basically cell phone data or vehicle data. We just chose 1 month, just that 1 month can serve kind of as an indicator of how things are going. In this particular analysis, VMT was up quite a bit, 24 versus 23. I don't know if that's an aberration for the month of April or collection methods, but April 24 is up quite a bit more than April 23. I'm going to go back. If you look in the report, I also provide the VMT data that the Wisconsin Department of Transportation provides on a county by county basis. Theirs is 1 year removed, so we have it on an annual basis, but it's only it's only up to date as to 2023. We won't get the 2024 numbers until perhaps 4 to 6 months. They are showing also, pretty much a 3% increase per year. They do not have the VMT data for 2024. And that would be for all of Dane County. If we look at fatalities, our fatalities are down. If the graphic on the left shows all of roads that are in the city of Madison, whereas 2023 we had 17 fatalities and 2024 we had 11. But if we take out the roads that we do not have control over, such as Highway 30, the interstates, the Beltline, our fatalities are down to 5. So that's whereas in 2023 they were 13. So that's quite a reduction. I believe in statistical significance and sample sizes, right? And so I don't want to say that we can claim victory, right? Because there can be aberrations on a year by year basis. But I think this year, as contrary to last year, we can say that the data is trending in the right direction. So hopefully 2025 will see something similar. It was quite a big year, right? This was, we were able to cut the ribbon for the East-West Bus Rapid Transit. It's the largest project that the city's ever undertaken. And it's being used. Here's our ridership. Figures that I collected last week. I think I just got an email today that there might be a small variation on them, but generally our system-wide ridership for February, for example, is up 16%. Right, our BRT routes are also up. The A and the B, they are both our BRT routes. The B may have a little bit lower increase just because maybe the A, collects those passengers before the B does. But overall, this is very good. You can see that, our monthly ridership is almost at 1.2 million per month. So this is just, good news, right? With a lot of the discussion on federal funding and what federal funding is going to be cut and what's not going to be cut, and how do we adjust if we have to adjust. I thought there might be a value in understanding Metro's budget. Right now it's a 77.4 million a year. Madison contributes 23.8% versus the general fund, and 9% via the vehicle registration fee. Our partners contribute about 17%. The state contributes about 24%. Fares contribute about 16%. Right? The federal makes up just about 10%. So if we lost federal money, we would definitely feel it. But we're not, I want to be, we would feel it. We would have to probably cut service, but Metro Transit would continue to go on, without federal funding, or if our federal funding was reduced. So I think I just wanted to allay concerns. That doesn't mean that the federal government, just as it invests in highways and other types of infrastructure, we feel like it's, valuable for them to also invest in transit. One of the reasons that we did that network redesign back in 2023 was to reduce the number of transfers. So this is the results of the onboard survey. It's preliminary, and I probably should have put preliminary on this because only about 60% of the survey results have been calculated and like. However, if you look, overall transfers are down considerably, right? The system wide, we were at close to 19%. Now we're at 11%. Low incomes down to 10%. Hispanics, 12%. That being said, African Americans or Black still have to transfer more than other socioeconomic groups, and so that's disappointing. Part of that just might be a challenge on how our city is laid out demographically and economically. That being said, it would be better if we could reduce the amount of transfers that African Americans have to make. This is a graphic that shows population near high frequency traffic, frequency service, defined as a bus every 15 minutes. The orange represents where we had high frequency service in 2018, and then blue represents where we have high frequency service in 2023. And almost every type of population indicator, we're double or more providing good service to the people and residents of Madison. Parking revenue by location and garage. This was when I collected this, I thought this was fascinating. Our parking revenues have been down since the pandemic. And it's, and we kind of wonder what was going to be the new role of parking. And here you can see that basically our revenue per garage has climbed back essentially up to where it was prior to the pandemic. The one exception would be the State Street Campus Garage. You can see that State Street Campus Garage, in 2023 was close to 4 million. In 2024, it was at 2.5 million. But one reason for that is just we took half of that garage and demolished it and put it under construction. So this is, this was interesting. Our parking revenues here, you can see, how much we get from garages, meters, licenses, and permits. And then I did. And then our parking net revenue. Okay, so right now, the parking division is a net positive revenues. Not by a lot, it's by, perhaps $1.3 million. But if you included, back in 2019, the parking division was not paying for the parking enforcement officers as part of their budget. And so that's, roughly a $4 million expense. And so essentially, we are back to where we were in 2019. And we're also helping the city shoulder more of the costs associated with running the city by absorbing the parking enforcement officers. And then this is the parking enforcement costs versus the citation revenue. It should be noted that the revenue that we get from citations goes into the general fund, not into the parking fund. So that's one way that the parking division kind of serves the city, in that they shoulder the costs of the enforcement costs, yet the revenues from that enforcement go to the general fund. And then I also want to kind of emphasize that the goal of parking enforcement is compliance. It's not revenue generation. You know, the reason why we have our no parking zones is because they make our city better. You know, we need those areas for loading, for bikeways, different things. And so we want people to comply. However, when you think about, you know, the parking enforcement officers, it's they help our system run better, and they also, in a sense, pay for themselves. Some of the accomplishments that we've done in the last year: pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, 6.1 miles of path, protected bike lanes and standard bike lanes. I think about 4 miles of that is full on protected facilities, which is that's a lot. You know, that's not a small number. That's a lot. 31 separate bicycle and pedestrian projects related to Safe Streets Madison. We've done speed reductions. We initiated the rollout of 20 is plenty, and they will begin to reinstitute those, restart the installation of the signs relatively soon. Here you can see the speed limit reductions. We have 8.7 miles of speed reductions. Complete green streets implementation. This is Seago Road. This is really a direct result of the policies that this board or this commission put into place. You know, because we have complete green streets, we were able to take essentially a road that was designed, overbuilt, right? Designed for too many motor vehicles, and provide a protected bikeway, provide space for parking, and maintain the pedestrian accommodations. I think it's just a nice road. You know, it's a more human road. We, as I mentioned, the BRT implementation, the fast fare system. You know, not only did did we get new buses, new tracking system, a new BRT system, but we also did a new fare system. And this actually was an enormous amount of work. I want to kind of call out Mick Roosh and his team. This was not a small effort. This was not a small effort. But this is a nicer system. And then pretty soon, I think within a month, you won't even need a card. You'll be able to use your credit card. Hanson Road facility, satellite facility. When I had come here for 5 years, Chuck Camp and his staff had been trying to get grants so that they could do a satellite facility, because they said they could not provide any more service to anyone unless they had a place to store buses. You know, and now we have a facility. It's a beautiful facility. It's housing 63 electric buses. By the way, this week is Appreciate Your Bus Driver Week. So so there was an event at Metro Transit on East Washington on Tuesday, and tomorrow they're kind of an appreciation event at the Hanson Road facility for the BRT bus drivers. And then the State Street Capital Ring. This was an enormous effort. We got started a little bit late. There was some delays due to some subsurface problems. I'm going to say the contractor, basically, despite some of the challenges, got it done. It's been turned over to our private partner, Mortensen. I'm going to kind of give props to our engineering partners. Brian Cooper, Brent, and Maria Delstry. They came to the table. They really helped us. This is a success because of them. And then there's been a large amount of Wisconsin DOT coordination, as I mentioned before in previous meetings, that Dane County has kind of been the focus of all of their study and investment efforts. And, every 2 weeks we have, 2-hour meetings on each of these projects. And so it's taken a fair amount of time to coordinate with them. And right now the interstate is done, and basically North Stoughton Road is done. South Stoughton Road, there's still a fair amount of input and preliminary design that needs to occur. So that's kind of a summary of the operational report. I guess I can take questions.
Thanks, Tom. Aiden, just to confirm, we don't have anybody registered to speak on this?
That is correct. Yep.
Comments or questions for Tom? Alder Harrington McKinney.
Much. I want to go back to, thank you for the presentation because I was trying to take copious notes. I want to go back to the section where it says equity and fairness. Could you just speak more about, and you had said, and related to Black and brown individuals or people of color. Could you just go back and kind of expand on what you've seen and what you are what you've seen and how does that show up in terms of equity and fairness, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to the to this graphic, right? We've cut down transfers for everyone, right? So low income, Hispanic, African American, everyone has transferred less. However, African Americans still have more transfers than other demographic groups, right? And so part of that might have to do with where our populations of African Americans are living in the city, right? And then also where are the jobs that they're taking. I'm going to say, I'm going to use a little marker. I'm going to say service has gotten exponentially better for people over here. I think it's gotten quite a bit better for here and quite a bit better for people over here. I think areas where I'm going to change my color, where we have more challenges might be here, right? In these areas, right? And so, and also maybe I should also point out the service is actually somewhat poor down here as well. So because we were able to improve the service where I have the pink circles, I'm going to say the transfer rates went down. I'm going to say because we, haven't been able to provide as good a service where there's yellow circles, perhaps, we're not able to move the needle in those areas right now. And then I think I'm going to make one more comment is that, let's say I live right here. Right, so this is actually an interesting area. This is a diverse community right here. If their job is right there, they have excellent service, right? But if their job is right there, they will have to transfer, right? And so part of it is where are they living? But then part of it is also where are their jobs, right? I think it needs to be explored more, but I'm happy that we're doing better. And I'd like to see us do better more.
I'm on a small screen, so I'm not able to track the yellow and the orange, and I will do that when I'm on my laptop. But what you're saying is that where the concentration is for that, you're equating where people are living with the jobs that they are traveling to, and that
Yeah.
in the I won't say disconnect, but that's causing.
Yeah. So some of it, like I'm going to say. So, for instance, let me just. I'm not able to get it. East of the interstate. Prior to the network redesign, east of the interstate had no service on weekends. No service on weekends. Think about all the housing that's over there. Some of it's workforce housing, affordable, and now it has 20-minute service. So the service has improved considerably east of the interstate. I think if you look down on Fish Hatchery, Fish Hatchery Road, this has 15-minute service. There's, diverse communities on Fish Hatchery Road. So that service has improved and it's excellent. And then if they get the North-South BRT, it will be, that much better, right? However, on Verona Road, we also have communities of color on Verona Road, and we don't have a very good service on Verona Road. So I can discuss it more with you as well. But
Yes, I'm on a very small screen, and that's one of the things I'm really, really interested in. So I can talk to you offline, and you'll be able to kind of help me to kind of navigate. So I'll reach out to you.
I can help you understand what I understand, but I think there's also, I need to acknowledge that we've made considerable improvements, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Other comments or questions for Tom? Okay, I would like to have a motion to accept the report. A lot of great work went into this, and thanks much for the information, Tom. We have a motion. Lynn?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the report.
Okay. Robbie?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I think we accept the report. If you're okay with that wording, then? Okay. Did you wish to speak to your motion, Lynn? No? Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes. I really enjoyed that report. And I always enjoy Tom's work. So thank you. I was chewing it quite loudly today while I was reading it. It was really good stuff. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. It's great to see all of the work we've been involved in memorialized in that report. Robbie.
Yeah, since we're losing Tom soon, I just want to thank him for, this report kind of shows all the work that's been done over the last couple of years. And it was a lot of work, and it was hard work, but it was good work. And I just wanted to thank him. I know there's a lot of staff that are behind him there, and they all worked very hard as well. But this is kind of a great opportunity to see how far we've come in the last couple of years, and I just wanted to thank Tom.
Yeah, great point. Thanks, Robbie. Other comments or questions, or other discussion, I should say. Okay, seeing no hands, I'm going to accept. I'm going to propose unanimous consent vote. Does anybody wishes to vote no or abstain? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, the motion is carried. Thanks so much, Tom. And we'll have an honoring resolution for Tom at our next meeting. So Robbie, you'll have another opportunity to thank Tom at the next meeting. Okay, thanks so much. Next, we have Public Works Transportation Projects Review and Feedback on Flaum Road. Steve, are you taking that one?
Yeah, I will start out. I'm going to share my screen. Where is it? All right. Can you see?
Yes.
Can you see Flaum Road? Okay. Do you need me to zoom in a little bit? I mean, it's a pretty long project, so I'm going to have to page through it kind of.
Yeah, maybe you can zoom and then
Zoom as needed.
Yep, and move over because I think people are there were a lot of public comments, and we do have someone registered to speak, I believe. Is that correct, Aiden?
Yes, that's correct. We do.
All right, I'll just start.
Yeah, so well, excuse me, Steve. We'll have a presentation, then we'll hear from the public, and then we'll have comments and questions from the commission.
Yeah, I'll give you a brief project scope, project time, phasing, and safety and pedestrian improvements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Allie and Sean to enhance on some of those improvements that we're doing. But good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Sontag. I'm the project engineer for the Flaum Road resurfacing. The project aims to enhance the roadway infrastructure while also addressing the aging underground utilities to ensure long-term reliability and safety of the community. The scope of the project will involve the complete removal of the asphalt pavement and roadway base on Flaum Road. Additionally, we'll complete the following improvements: replacing the sanitary sewer and water main due to their deteriorating condition. Storm sewer enhancements will be done to improve drainage throughout the corridor. Spot replacement of curb and gutter, drive aprons, and sidewalk where necessary due to their poor condition. We're going to retain the existing 44-foot wide street face to face to maintain the existing trees and the power poles that are in the terraces right now. Our proposed project timeline and phasing. Flaum was actually originally scheduled to be resurfaced in 2024, but it was delayed due to accommodate our failing underground infrastructure of the water main and sanitary sewer. So some other issues, given the proximity of the school, we plan to phase this into 2 years. Right now, we're tentatively thinking of phasing the east side only, starting from essentially Sponham, the intersection here on the left, and I'll just slowly zoom over to the east side to the concrete pavement just before South Stoughton Road, frontage road. We still have to have some internal discussions and discussions with the school, but I think this is a possibility. Phasing it into 2 phases. We're going to definitely have to work with Metro and the school on how to accommodate bus movements during this phase, because the schedule we're on right now, we won't even be starting this project till the late July. And if we only did Sponham to the east, we'd be looking probably mid to late November completion for just Sponham to the east, with all the utility work and improvements necessary to complete the project. And then after school year, after the school is out in 2025, I think we could easily finish up from Sponham to the west in front of the school and then tie in, sorry, going the wrong way, and then tie in to what was completed with the Monona Drive project. The Monona Drive project ended just west of the driveway going into Walgreens. We're going to continue this project through to tie into the to completely finish this construction, to tie into what was done in, I think, 2014 with the Monona Drive project. So a couple other things. So those are the couple of phases we're definitely considering. some of the safety and pedestrian improvements, we look to enhance infrastructure and pedestrian safety in the areas of the project to incorporate installation of medians, as you have seen as I page through the 3 sections of the project that you see on your screen. We will install RRFBs at Camden Road and Alder Road and replace the existing RRFP at Groveland Terrace with solar activated RRFPs. We're also working with the school to obtain an easement, and we can possibly install a wider sidewalk on the frontage of the school property. Most of the curb and gutter in front of the school property is in disrepair, and it probably has to do with the buses, driving right along the edge of the curb, dropping off the students in front of the school here. So most of that curb is coming up, getting replaced due to the poor condition. We're trying to work out an easement. We would need an easement from La Follette High School to install a wider sidewalk and possibly even provide a 3-foot wider street in front of the school to allow a bus pull out. And I think that would be very helpful for the students and just to help traffic move a little better. These improvements will provide a safer and more efficient roadway for all the users while addressing critical infrastructure needs. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Allie and Sean, who can provide more information, more details on the proposed safety improvements and pedestrian enhancements.
Yeah, Steve, can I actually share?
Yeah, you want me to get out? I can do that.
Yeah, I was just kind of gonna go. You went over it a lot too, but I'll go over it again.
Yeah, I figured. Stop the share. Sorry.
You all see the screen? Yeah.
It's starting. There we go.
All right. So I kind of just want to go over what's there right now. Yeah, this is Monona Drive. And so currently we have, 1 lane going east, and then we have a turn lane going on to Monona, and then a through turn with bike lanes on both sides. Continue down, bike lanes still, both sides, 2 travel lanes. Once you get closer to Alder Road, we have that left turn lane, which goes into the parking lot of the middle school, Senate Middle School. And this is a very heavily used left turn lane going into the school. Parents actually use this to drop off their kids and pick up through this lane into this parking lot and whatnot. And then they all turn right going out of school or going out of the parking lot. So this is a very heavy right turn. And so 44 feet, we can't fit any buffered bike lanes really in this area. Just kind of want to show that we need to keep this left turn lane. And then like Steve kind of mentioned, we're really updating the crossings, keeping this continental, of course, restriping it. We're redoing this island, making it more, or have a ped refuge, as well as a rapid flashing beacon, making it a lot safer, kind of making it almost a 2-stage crossing. So you're only crossing, 1 lane of traffic at each time with that rapid flashing beacon. Continuing east, we do get into some kind of parking right here on the south side. This is no parking during school times. So it's kind of more of a just drop off your kid, no parking in the morning and afternoon. And then this entire section on the north is all parked up with, I think it's around 8 buses. And yeah, what we were trying to propose is having this back up, I think, was it 3 feet? Hopefully we can get that. And so right now the buses honestly go into the travel lane. It's really congested. And so we're really trying to hope to get that extra 3 feet to make sure those buses are fully in that parking lane and then have that bike lane fully clear during that time. But once again, it's tight, especially when it's parked up. Continue on, still have parking in those bike lanes. We have a metro stop right here, bus stop, and this is where high schoolers get on the bus. And I can't remember how many buses go during that time, but this is where they park, and it really, kind of stops traffic. But just kind of want to show that once again, it's pretty tight in those bike lanes and whatnot. So hopefully that 3 feet will really help that situation as well. And then Groveland, we're also putting in an RFB, rapid flashing beacon, in here as well, similar to Alder Terrace as well. Improving this island, extending it, making it a ped refuge. So this crossing will just be a lot safer as well. Very heavily used crossing also. So right here, there's no parking. It's just single bike lanes with that middle turn lane. And so this turn lane is for cars going into the high school parking lot way up here. And then actually a lot of parents drop off their kids in this area, come out, turn, and whatnot. So this is, we need this turn lane for sure. I don't know if we're keeping this. This is actually a mountable island. I think we're maybe redoing that one. But currently the bike lanes actually end right here by the cemetery. We have, I think this is, no stopping, standing parking during school times in this area. And then, it's pretty much just free for all parking. The more east you go, once again, all of these ped ramps are outdated. These are better, but I think we're also redoing those. We're adding, I think, islands almost at every intersection with ped refuge. So it'll look a lot different when we put those islands in to help slow traffic, make it just feel a lot different. And then this is Maher. We're definitely redoing this crosswalk, make it a continental. Also redoing those ped ramps. And this is Camden. We are also redoing. So this is actually an intersection where we have our crossing guard. So we're redoing these ped ramps, putting in a continental. Also putting in a rapid flashing beacon here as well. We have a crossing guard here for the elementary school way down here. So that's a big crossing for elementary students. And then we're also putting in an island here as well to help with that crossing with the ped refuge and rapid flashing beacon. Let me get to the pavement markings. But that's kind of what was there right now. Actually, let's just start from that end since I was talking about it. So this is where we were before, Camden. Like I said, we're updating this intersection, putting in all crosswalks, continental, especially for that rapid flashing beacon crossing where that crossing guard is.
Could you maybe zoom in a little bit, Alex?
Sorry. It's kind of hard to tell how.
Or screen instead of having all of your tabs up there.
Yeah, that would probably be scary. There we go. Took me a while. So here's that Camden intersection. So we're putting in both these islands. We'll really help those crossings make this intersection feel, or these crossings, a lot safer and shorter. especially for those elementary students. Same with Maher. And there's also a bus stop. I think it's either by Camden or Maher. But yeah, these crossings will be much better for both of those situations. And then also from, I guess, kind of this section, this service lane to Maher, we have those buffered bike lanes currently proposed. We technically maybe could extend these buffered bike lanes to maybe Sponham if we want to remove all this parking. We'll have to, get the residents involved since this was not brought up at the PIM, but that is a possibility. But then, sorry, why can't I scroll? Okay. But then the further west you go, closer to the school, it gets a little more iffy with like these turn lanes and whatnot to do buffer bike lanes.
Could you zoom again, please?
Yep. Sorry, my bad. There we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. And then this parking, and we can do a study on it, but this parking is definitely for like funeral services and whatnot for the cemetery. So like we might not want to remove this parking here. But and then otherwise it's really all the parking other than this. I mean, we can't really take away parking here just because this is all the bus loading zones, and this serves as drop off pickup in the morning and evenings. But and then down here you have the turn lane, and then once you get closer to Monona, it gets you have all those turn lanes. But but I think we really want to focus on, we're really trying to improve all the pedestrian crossings, especially for this, since we're by schools, and we really are with all these like island improvements and rapid flashing beacons and whatnot. So that really is the focus for this, for this project, since it is just a resurfacing. We're not really moving the curb except for maybe some of that terrace part in front of the school. But Sean can kind of elaborate on that now if I'll turn it over to him.
Yeah, that was a great overview, Allie. The only other thing I want to add, the other component is that MMSD is beginning their redevelopment plans for the Senate Middle School. So with them, we're working to expand that terrace and that drop-off lane to better accommodate the bike lane, because 7-foot parking lane, what's there currently, really makes the bike lane unusable during those pickup drop-off times. So they kind of have a early concept, and it's not changing too much from what they have out there. They're pretty much playing the same drop-off pickup operations, but it's kind of an opportunity for us to get a little more space to get those buses, out of the bike lane, and that curb, as Steve mentioned, is in bad shape, so that's getting replaced. So that was one of our main goals, I guess, of this project, to widen that area. I don't have anything else more to add. I think we're probably ready for questions. Oh, Yang wants to
go ahead, Yang.
Jump in.
Yeah, I want to thank Steve, Ali, and Sean go over the project. They did a great job, covering a lot of the details. I just want to see something maybe from a kind of bigger picture, for you to think about it. The current preliminary thoughts are not really how street, especially on the street right of way allocation, and the design is not really our end goal for the corridor. I think in the end, we would like the corridor to be much more friendly to pads and bikes. We would love to see protected bike lanes on here and paths actually here, but it's constrained right now because of the scope of the project. Not really, this is research project, not really moving a lot of the curbs. So that's a limiting factor. But again, this is not the kind of the end design that we want to achieve for the corridor. We hope to, have opportunity to improve things a lot further. But there are also some discussion among staff on, we could also maybe think about whether we can maybe sacrifice the continuity of the infrastructure, maybe where we do move the curbs, whether we can set it up just for that segment, especially near the school, to more towards kind of a future state we like to eventually see. But that has pros and cons. So I just want to kind of bring that thought up, and thank you for in advance for all the discussion and the guidance that you're giving to staff. So thank you.
Thanks, Yang. So why don't we hear from the public, Aiden?
So we have Nicholas Davies of Richard Street opposes and wishes to speak.
Go ahead, Nick.
Good evening. So Flower Road is on the All Ages and Abilities Bike Network map. The proposed design in part shows a non-buffered bike lane without even a stripe separating it from the moving vehicle lane, making those lanes effectively 15 feet wide, highway sized. This is not an all ages and abilities facility, and this is very clear in the Complete Green Streets Guide, not a matter of opinion. Including a substandard bike facility in order to prioritize vehicle storage also goes directly against the modal hierarchy. What I hope to get out of the discussion tonight is some critical introspection on why, even with this adapted guide, we're still making this kind of decision from scratch every single time. We have this Complete Streets Guide that is really clear, really well put together. It was created with a lot of public input, and it's being continually reviewed and updated. And as was mentioned earlier, it's this shining example to be used as a model elsewhere. So it's pretty frustrating when a project like this pays lip service to that and then utterly disregards the contents of it and proposes to rebuild the street in the exact same layout that we've inherited from the 1970s. I could make the case here about a wobbly middle schooler someday getting kettled between a moving car and a parked car because of this. I could talk about this being one of the few routes across 51 and to destinations on Monona Drive, but I kind of feel like, why do we even have to do this on a case-by-case basis anymore? Part of the value of the Complete Streets Guide is that projects have a template to work from. By starting from a design that isn't consistent with Complete Green Streets, we heard that if this were to change, there might have to be another PIM, but that's not the wasted effort. The wasted effort here was having a PIM already with a substandard design. If we had options before us tonight that had different all ages and abilities facilities, then we could have a more productive conversation tonight. But as it stands, this really needs to start over because it started from the wrong standpoint. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Comments or questions for Nick? Okay, I'm seeing no hands. Let's open it up for comments or questions for the team. Robbie.
Okay, so I guess I'll start. First of all, I'll start by saying that I agree with what Nick's just said. But I guess my question for staff is, I'm encouraged to hear that this is not the final design for what we hope to achieve for a road that goes right past two schools where the students could easily be biking, walking, rolling to school. And we're not really giving them good infrastructure. So my question for staff is, when do we think we might be able to provide adequate infrastructure? If not now during the repaving project?
Who's going to field that one?
I mean,
Well,
Yang was the one who said that this was not the final design, so I thought maybe he might have some insights, but.
I'd like to let you know that this is not a reconstruction. This is a resurfacing project. Funding would be a huge issue if this was a complete reconstruct. And we also have private utilities that have take up the entire corridor in the terrace. Overhead electric. I talked to MG&E regarding relocation of their power poles and the overhead electric. They said it would be a 2-year process minimum just to get those moved and relocated. The roadway itself is in disrepair. It needs resurfacing. Unfortunately, the full infrastructure that you're looking for can occur funding wise with this project, but we'd like to address the poor pavement condition and try and provide the best opportunity for bike lanes and pedestrian movement with the project as it is today.
Okay, so I understand this is not a full reconstruction. I got that part, but Yang had mentioned that this was not our vision for what it might be, and that we hope to get something in the future. My question is, when is the future? And I guess since we're bringing up this project, my other question is, why didn't we bring up eliminating the parking during the public information so that we wouldn't have to fight that fight a second time when we request that you stripe bike lanes at a minimum on the road?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Yang.
Okay, yeah, so thank you. Yeah, so I'll try to answer maybe give a little bit of information about maybe the first part of the question on the, when we might be to do a infrastructure that we actually want to see. Actually, I first saw this yesterday, and since that, city engineer Jim Wolf and I had some brief discussion. I think maybe we're looking to, hopefully maybe have some opportunity, maybe at least making parts of this a lot better than what's being looked at right now. I think especially that the connection from the school to the, to the west, kind of to the path along the golf course, along Monona Drive. So hopefully, that can be something that we look into at least. Not sure whether with this project, but maybe not too decent way. For others, other parts, we're not sure. I think we'll look into it to see what makes sense. Another thing that I said maybe we can look at a part of the project where we do change the curves, whether we can set up more towards the what we really want to look like in the future, and at least make sure that's part is done. I think there are definitely critical parts of the project. Needs has to be taken care of, as Steve mentioned. But
I think we lost Yang.
Yeah, he froze.
Yang, I think you froze up there, Yang. You can hear us. You froze up.
Oh no.
I think that this is a short-term fix, and the long-term fix would probably be more in the 10 to 15-year range. Is that right, Andy?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just due to the condition of the road. If we waited another 3 years to even do anything out here, the real big issue is MG&E. Those power poles and overhead electric are going to be troublesome to relocate at all. The terrace is only 5 foot wide, and we can't gain a ton of room in this right of way. It's an existing 66 foot right of way, and we already have 44-foot street. We need, I think the rules for power poles are supposed to be 1 foot from the face and 1 foot from the sidewalk. So we need at least a 3-foot terrace for those power poles.
Mhm. And the reason why we didn't at least prepare the neighbors for removing parking so that we can stripe bike lanes, what are we doing there?
I mean, there really was no, I guess, at the PIN, there really was no like interest in, I guess, the bike lanes. Like we showed this, no one really had any problems with it.
But how does it meet our complete green streets guide with no bike infrastructure right in front of a school? I mean, how is that even possible when we have this guide?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I wish we could do a full reconstruction. It's just we're working with 44 feet that we're not changing. And yeah, we can't take away some of these turn lanes, as you know, they serve a big purpose. And yeah, so really the only thing we could really kind of change would be buffered bike lanes, east of the school.
Mhm. And how much?
Robbie, I think Yang has his hand up, so he may have some additional. He may have some additional information for you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And sorry about that. My computer shut itself down. So let's speak. Yeah, I spoke. Yeah.
To everybody.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think you are definitely right. I think, that's why, we're looking to whether, what we can do, differently. Again, one part of it might be instead of trying to be consistent through the corridor for this design, we sacrifice consistency and do make as complete as we can as long a segment as we can do for now, and then when resource allows, maybe come back to do other sections. So again, at least maybe making part of it much better, but we means that the other parts will be you kind of have an inconsistent infrastructure. Which something that we can look into. So I definitely appreciate the input and the guidance from here. Thank you.
I mean, I'm going to let other people have a shot at this, but I just feel like this is not baked yet. Like the project, we need more information. We need to know parking utilization. We need to, have some designs that might have a partial infrastructure. I just don't feel like it's baked yet for us to consider this. That's my opinion. So I'm gonna let other people go for it.
Thanks, Robbie. Chris, go ahead.
I guess Kaylee's hand was on. Okay. I guess I'll reflect on the tension here, and this project seems to be a test of complete green streets. In that, I think what's happening here is this was a resurfacing project that came up pretty fast. There's a sense that it needs to be resurfaced quickly, and in a lot of other cities, that would just happen without considering modifications to the striping. So what's happening here, I feel like, is engineering worked to get this as closer to complete green streets under the constraints of this project. So I think we should appreciate that. Things happen pretty fast. I don't think the conflicts between parking and bike lanes were considered when it went to PIM. So that's where we are today, I think. So that's the context. So I am curious now that we're here, what are the possibilities for moving this project forward in a way that this commission will be happier with? And specifically, Two questions I have. One is, I noticed that where parking is preserved, it seems to be preserved on both sides, sort of symmetrically. And is there a reason that staff would be uncomfortable with removing parking on one side in some of those cases? And if that was what this commission wanted to do, what would that process look like, and how would that complicate this resurfacing?
Who wants to handle that one?
I'll try to take a stab at that. So, I mean, I think, first and foremost, we need the parking lane adjacent to the school where the buses drop off. I don't know I think that is kind of a, for sure, like that has to be there. There's no real way, for that to operate. Otherwise, there's 8 school buses every day there. I think that could be a possibility if we wanted to, remove parking on that south side. But that, again, is also used for drop-off pickup quite heavily. So, I mean, that would have to go somewhere else. And I'm just talking adjacent to school. So that's the area that's, I think, the most troublesome for us. The other section, I guess from Kwame to Stoughton Road, I am less concerned about, removing some of that parking and making that all buffered bike lanes. Those are really short blocks. Those houses at front, almost all those houses have frontages on the side street as well. So I don't think that would be too big of a deal. So I think that we could come up with an option where we, limit to one side, where possible, probably the north side, and just see, how much we can get a buffered bike lane, maximize that area. I think we probably can go back and increase that. We would just have to be smart about where our islands are placed. I'd have a little bit of concern because you'd still have to get the turning movements to work, but that's something we can probably work through.
And I think, Chris, you were interested. Can this project move forward from a timing standpoint the way that you had hoped if we ask you to come back with these changes? And I think that you will. I'm just going to say this. You've heard this from the Transportation Commission a lot in the past. I think we've pretty much always been in favor of removing parking, in favor of buffered bike lanes where possible. So just so everybody keeps that in mind moving forward. But Chris, you were specifically interested, if I'm not mistaken, in can this project continue on in the time frame that you've proposed it if you would in fact come back with some of the changes that we're asking for today?
Yeah, so I can take that. So we're going to the plan is to go to board in mid-April. So if we have to come back to TC, the bidding would probably get pushed to June or July, which would remove any work likely in 25 here and probably push work to 26 and potentially 27, because I don't think we can't build this whole street during non-school mid-June to Labor Day. So then we're going to have to phase it in 26, 27. That's not engineering's preferred route. We would prefer to keep it on track so we can address all the substandard pavement. And then if the school if we can align with the school's redevelopment and kind of get these projects aligned, then construction only has to be on the street along the school one time.
Yeah. Tom Moore has his hand up. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thanks. I think for us, it would be good to get clarification about what area we should focus on. When Allie went through the marking plan, she kind of showed where directly in front of the school, a lot of that, if the curb is set, the lane lines are set. So what we're, I think, really talking about is east of the school from the cemetery to Stoughton Road. Within that section, we do have flexibility by removing parking. So we can look into that and we can provide options for that. But yeah, we should go back to the residents since it wasn't brought up at the PIM. But I just wanted to make sure that's what we're talking about, right? Is it's from the cemetery to the east, and I just wanted to make sure we're discussing the same thing.
Sure, Tom. And I think Robbie specifically asked earlier, why wasn't removing parking an option that was discussed at the PIM?
Right.
So
I
did
think-
you ever get an answer to that, Robbie?
Not really, except that nobody brought it up at the PIM, but again, we have a guide, so I'm not sure why it wasn't just automatically brought up.
Right. And I think Chris kind of summed it up correctly. I think that it was kind of something that was overlooked because this one came up so fast and it was meant as a resurfacing. But that, right, in the future, that is something that will be brought up with those public information meetings with a parking study and to make sure all the options are on the table and we don't have to go back.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yang, did you have another comment?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to, see that I really appreciate, Chris' comments. Yeah, I think Tom already said that's exactly what happened. For Complete Green Streets, right? I think everybody, understands that we will use that as a guide. But that's kind of intended for, new streets, we reconstruct streets. I think we should, direct staff to paying attention to the resurfacing as well, right? Take advantage of this to see what we can come up with to make the streets more complete and more green. So I think we'll kind of work on that, making sure that, even for the, again, I think till now, our staff are very good that when we work on reconstruction, a new street, they will always, go through that Complete Green Street exercise, making sure it's, comply with the guide. Otherwise, we'll come here, talk to you about the pros and cons of different things. Yeah, this one comes up really fast, and I think I do appreciate all the staff putting out the thoughts. Apparently, right? When I look at the plan yesterday, I think put a lot of thoughts into how to make things better for pedestrian bicycles. Given what they can do, I totally appreciate that. But I made that definitely we can do better, especially if we can think about making the timing work. Maybe focus on some segments instead of like a whole corridor to be consistently done. Maybe you can tweak some of the designs and coming back. Yesterday when I saw this, I was wondering whether we should pull this from the agenda from today, to be honest with you. But I understand, the timing concerns. We want to hopefully help the project moving. At least my understanding is that, some segments might be more critical timing wise than others. So maybe Andy, if you can speak on that, or Steve, that'd be great as well. If you can figure out something tonight, for those critical points, that'd be great. Yeah, but definitely, we're committed to look into with all the constraints, what we can do here.
Thanks,
So
Yang.
wondering, thank you.
Is that all you had, Chris? I think we're back on your comments. Okay, thanks. Pepe, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, and I'm gonna try to be specific here instead of I don't want to continue to beat the dead horse, but I appreciate Yang's thoughts, in terms of how the process is working right now and how it could be in the future, and same from Tom Moore, appreciating the the thoughts of their and the will to take the PIM chances next time. I feel like that's an important space to utilize and to bring up, even if we have, we're afraid of like getting resistance from the public. I feel like it's the space for bringing up the complete green streets and etc. standards. So, in a way, our role is to educate the public to get their feedback, but also those are spaces for education and listening. So it's both ways. So now to a more specific question, Ali, I heard you mentioning many times that we're improving the crossing islands. Would you mind elaborating a little bit about what the improvement would be? Like, how would the new islands be different than the older ones in place?
Yeah, maybe Steve can help me on that. So like right now, the islands don't extend kind of into the crosswalk. There's no like way for or place for pedestrians to really cross one lane of traffic, kind of stop safely, look again, and then continue to cross. And so we're kind of extending those islands into the crosswalk, having those, I guess, or like those ADA, like more of like a ped ramp kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like a refuge for
Right.
pedestrians to stand in.
That's exactly right. We're going to provide more of a refuge for all the islands that we're putting in. So there will be ADA accessible ramps in the islands and allow a refuge, so they can actually cross half at a time and avoid getting hit by cars.
Are they any wider than the original islands? Do they like support traffic slowing down more than what it is right now?
They're pretty close to the same. We extended them into the crosswalk farther, so there is a refuge area.
There's also several locations where there aren't islands currently that we're adding them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're adding quite a lot of islands. But most importantly, we're updating those islands, especially at those really heavy crossings like at Groveland and Alder, and also putting in those rapid flashing beacons as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I appreciate that with the islands. I think it brings more consistency to the whole road in terms of just, instead of being in a space where like every once in a while you see this island, is more of a general feeling of, of a slower street. So I feel like those islands are really helpful. Appreciate that. Now, another question that I have is, I was kind of imagining myself being a student and biking to school, and the fact that we have parking, I think, if I remember well, at the area where the school is, we have parking there, and in that area the bike lanes are not buffered necessarily. I'm thinking my question would be, what steps can we take towards preventing students getting doored by a parked car there as they bike to school?
Yeah, I think it just depends on if we want to take away that drop off and pick up. So you're describing that block between Groveland and Alder, right across from the bus parking, bus loading zone. Yeah, it's just there would be no pickup and drop off on Flom then. Because when you go east, we have no parking. So like right in front of La Follette, there's no parking on either side. And I don't know if there's room to buffer that. Because with that middle turning lane, there's really no room to buffer that. But we could look at the dimensions again. I'm not sure on that, but yeah. I guess that's my answer to that. But when you get past the schools, that's when most of the parking starts up.
Yeah, I can jump in on this, and I'm going to show a video that I took last night. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
So this is Pflaum. This is
Tom, if you
West.
could, describe your video as best you can, and that'd be great.
Yep. So this is let's see, it's right as Senate Middle School is letting out. So we're looking west on Pflaum from Groveland. So Groveland is directly beneath us. So the south side of the street, that's signed right now as no parking 7:30 to 4:30 on school days, but it's really not used at all as a pickup drop-off zone. So it kind of acts as a buffered bike lane right now, even though it's not signed that way or marked that way. But I want to show this video because it shows the process of how middle schoolers are picked up after school and how they use the on-site drop-off. This video is sped up a little bit, but so this really shows that everything stays on the north side of the school. The 8 buses line up there. They're pretty efficient with that. But if you look in the parking lot, you can see where all the parent pickup drop-off is. They're all making a loop on site and coming back out. That's the intersection of Alder down there. They're supposed to turn right out of that driveway. Some of them don't, but really all the pickup drop-off takes place there. There's a little bit on Groveland, a few parents, just maybe less than 10 picked up their kid on Groveland, but there's really not much pickup drop-off at all on Pflaum. So it's signed no parking, the south side of Pflaum, no parking 7:30 to 4:30 on school days. That allows those residents to have parking on nights and weekends. How important that is, I think you can make an argument that parking is on-street parking is not that important, but like we said before, we didn't bring it up with the residents. So,
yeah, this is great, Tom, and I appreciate the video because I feel like, you just mentioned it, but there's a chance that here's room for like seeing an alternative to the current drawings, maybe proposing, not having that parking there or how that would look like, because I'm also perceiving that the school buses are parking kind of like halfway into the bike lane there as well. So maybe there's room for improving that situation.
Right. And that's what we're working with the school to try to bump into their property a few feet because, the school buses do overlap the existing bike lane by about 2 to 3 feet. So that's what we're hoping is to push them over. We can't just, if we're maintaining the parking on the south side of the street, we're set with these lane widths. They're all at the minimum right now. If we remove the parking on the south side of the street, then we could just shift the lane lines and we wouldn't have to go into the school property. But if we maintain the existing parking situation, bump into the school property, then that provides that extra width for keeping that bike lane, that westbound bike lane clear.
Yeah, it sounds like we have options, and that's good. It'd be great to see, maybe see in the drawings what the options are. I understand we're under a tight timeline, but I tend to agree with Robbie that, I'm not clear this is fully baked. Maybe I would advocate for just doing it right the first time. So maybe there is room here for seeing a different solution in the drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I had. I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks, Pepe. Kaylee, go ahead.
Thanks, Anne. I agree with a lot of the comments already made today, but I did see in the public comment a couple of folks asking whether the parking lane could serve as the buffer for the bike lane and have, flip that configuration. And I'm wondering if that was given any thought. Obviously, there's the door concern as well in that universe, but just curious about that option.
Who's going to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one too. So in the areas with existing parking, the issue is when we flip the parking to provide parking protected bike lane, we need a few extra feet to make that work. We kind of learned our lesson on Bassett Street with the parking protected, and we kind of found our minimum widths, what we need from the face of the curb out to the lane line to make that work. And I don't think there's enough room here for that to work under the current street width. We would need a few more feet to make parking protected work.
Yang, go ahead.
Tom is right on that. And also another complication is also that the winter maintenance. So we really need to make sure, streets division will have the resource to and agree to maintain that parking protected bike lane, because the plows may not be able to take care of it, especially if the cars were parked there during the snowstorm. So that's another consideration. But we should look into what we can do. I think those are great comments. So thank you.
Thanks, Yang. Other things, Kaylee, are you done?
No, I think everyone else has addressed my other questions.
Okay, thanks. I've heard a lot of comments about hoping to have seen some other alternatives, particularly with regard to potentially removing parking, perhaps on one side of the road, and improving the all ages and abilities biking in the area, particularly because of the schools. So I guess I'd like to hear from staff, is that possible without delaying this a whole year? Or if we ask you to come back, is it too soon to come back at the next meeting and talk about what facilities might be able to be changed? Understanding, as Yang pointed out several times, that it would be inconsistent throughout the corridor because there would only be certain places where, with a resurfacing, we would be able to consider making those changes. So are we for sure pushing it off a year if we ask you to come back?
Well, I would say yes.
I agree as well. It's already late in the year. I mean, a late July start. So if we had to have another PIM and open up, maybe send out a parking survey, this would delay it a year for sure.
So my follow-up question was, you're talking about doing it in two parts, but I understand the part near the school is the section that would not be first; it would be second. Is there a way to split it up and move forward on part of it, or is that not possible based on which part has to go first and which part has to go second?
Yeah, so you're saying break it up into completely two different projects. I think
it's a question.
Yeah, I think certainly that could be an option. Yeah, if you want to build, if the school Monona to what is it, Quam potentially, or Spanum. I know from an underground utility standpoint, that was a good breaking point with Spanum. If that section is relatively set, then we could potentially split that off, continue that path, get it approved, get it out for bid. We wouldn't work on it this year. We would still have to do it in 26 during the non-school time. And then the other section, you could potentially, depending on when that's approved, maybe you could get it in next year. I'm just trying to think of on the fly here. Potentially No, hold on. I think I'm talking myself in a circle. So if we split it up like this, we still wouldn't work in 25 because we need to build Spanum to Stoughton. We can build that during non-school. So that's the section that we gotta go back to the drawing board on. So then that we could still build the school part next year in this middle of 26. And then either have the other part ready in 26, or if we want to split that up again to avoid even that section affecting school, because that still has school challenges, because that's where the buses come from. You could kick that. So no, I don't think there's a scenario to split up the projects to be built this year.
I'm just trying to think about what solutions there might be to move forward as quickly as we can, but take into consideration the concerns that we've heard expressed by the commissioners tonight.
Yep, I understand.
Yeah. So where are we? I know I've heard a lot of concern, and apparently my cat's concerned too. So where are we at in terms of timing, in terms of what people think we should do? I've heard a lot of requests for you to come back and give us some more ideas in terms of removing parking and providing better biking facilities. So I'd like to hear back from people in terms of what you think we should do. Because we're kind of stuck right now, I think.
If if we have to look at removing parking, that will delay the project for sure till 2026. So if that's the request that we're looking at, this project is dead for 2025.
Pepe, go ahead.
Sorry, just to clarify, are we discarding the alternative of splitting in two projects and maybe doing the school to the east this year and then the section of the school and towards Monana next year, and because that will be the section that we really need to think about parking, right? The other section with all the pedestrian islands, that one is generally looking good.
So I don't think we have enough time to if we want to get that section built, Spanum to the Stoughton. I don't think we have enough time to public question, put out something to the public for options, public meeting, TC, design, bid to start this year. We can go through that process, but we'd have to move, then we would just move the whole project to next year. So yeah, I think so it should really, Tom and Yang, does engineering and TE want to, you kind of do what you talked about, options and kind of take a step back? Is that based on the committee's feedback? I mean, again, I prefer to move forward, but I understand the feedback received.
We do have Kaylee has some comments. Maybe we can hear from Kaylee before we hear from Yang and Tom.
Well, I guess I actually have more of a question. I'm curious, I'm hearing y'all say that this will delay the project, and I understand that that's not ideal, but could you help me understand what the tangible negative outcomes of that type of delay would be? Are we expecting more crashes? Is the road more dangerous? Is there funding expiration timelines, or is it just we'd rather do it this year? Just helping to understand the consequences.
Yeah, good question. So it was scheduled for 24 because the pavement is bad. It was pulled from 24 because there was identified as underground utility issues that needed to be resolved. So we now know the scope of that work. So we wanted to get those things fixed. That would have been this year. So so if we continue to delay it, we just continue to have maintenance costs, on the street for pavement repairs and, potentially underground, sewer repairs. So it's just maintenance of it. And then, continue just substandard infrastructure along the school.
So Yang and Tom, I guess your thoughts. I think you heard a lot of disappointment that removing parking wasn't discussed with the public as an option because, clearly that's been a topic at many of our Transportation Commission meetings in situations like this. And as pointed out, Complete Green Streets and the modal hierarchy, parking is at the very bottom, and pedestrian and bicyclists are much farther up at the top. So I think people are disappointed that we would be delayed because removing parking wasn't an option discussed at the public information meeting. And I'm also hearing that people think that if we did it this way, that it wouldn't be perhaps the best way or the safest way for this interim fix during resurfacing, knowing we have to wait for the best solution until reconstruction can come down the road. So I think that's something else that I've heard a lot tonight, that, if we went this route, that maybe it wouldn't be as safe as we had hoped. Robbie?
Yeah, sorry. No, I was just trying to find my unmute.
Yeah.
So I guess since I sort of kicked this off, I'm not gonna make a motion as far as the timing, because I will let engineering and traffic engineering decide what's gonna happen with that. But I definitely think that we need to see better options before I feel comfortable approving this. So that's where I stand. Other people can express different opinions, but I would like to see some other options before I would feel comfortable approving this. And I guess I'll just also pipe up that what I heard from Yang was that the Complete Green Streets was sort of envisioned as relating to reconstruction projects. And that's why, there wasn't a lot of consideration about improving accommodations for a resurfacing. But I guess I would just sort of request going forward that all city staff consider that, especially when we are talking about a road that goes next to two schools, especially a high school and a middle school, where the students are old enough to at least think about biking to school. And probably the high school students are using other types of rolling modes of travel, whether it be a skateboard or a one wheel or whatever. They have scooters, that we really have to consider what we can do when we have substandard accommodations, even if it is only a resurfacing project. I just hope that we get into the habit of saying, hey, the accommodations here really are bad. Even though we're only resurfacing, what can we do now and anticipate those needs? So I will let somebody else make a motion, but I'm just gonna sort of put it out there that I'm part of this is where I stand now on this project, and part of it is on where we should be when we're looking at projects near schools of all kinds, whether it's resurfacing or reconstruction. So, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Excuse me 1 second. We're losing people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We now have a quorum. So please, nobody else can leave without us losing quorum. So I'm just going to double check that quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So hopefully everybody who's still here can stay till the end of the meeting. So go ahead, Yang.
Yeah, thank you, Anne, for checking on that. And I want to thank Robbie for her comment. I think that's a great point. Yeah. So I think staff already making a lot of progress on this. In the past, resurfacing projects, we don't really look into too much of it. It's just kind of resurfaced, and the markings will put it back exactly what it was. So now I appreciate that staff actually look into making some safety improvements. But I agree. In the future, we try to maybe plan the project in a way, give all of us time to maybe look this into further to see what to kind of maximize things we can do given that constraints. That definitely requires time, requires thinking, and we can work with staff on that. We can keep improving that. So I'm trying to find a solution here. I'm not sure whether there's any actually without delaying it, but just trying think aloud. So for my staff colleagues, if we think that really there's not much room we can play with the curb placement, is it possible to maybe ask the commission to approve that general curb setup and maybe keep engineering going forward? And meantime, we can look into how to relocate space by doing paper marking, and maybe add that marking plan later into the contract. And we can bring that back because that marking design can be changed. So I think the critical question is that are we preset with the curb placement, and also is the commission comfortable with, if that's the case, comfortable with the engineering proceed with the kind of the curb design, and staff will go back to look into how to do the markings. Whether it's possible to remove some parking from one side, and whether it's possible to place the markings at different spots to allow for a better kind of bike infrastructure.
Yeah, we have done things like that in the past, and I was thinking the same thing, Yang. It doesn't. If all we're talking about is on-street parking and how we designate what's within the curbs, the cost of the project will remain basically the same. The scope of the project is the same. The only difference is where we're placing lines on the pavement. We've made major changes to lane markings after the project has even started. So in my mind, that's not an issue if the commission is okay approving the overall geometrics with us coming back to get approval of the lane lines while the rest of the project proceeds through the approvals to stay on track.
Yeah, I like that idea. I'm on board with that. Yeah.
So approve the overall geometrics with the understanding you'll bring the marking plan back to TC. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And I did just note, I know Kaylee and Lynn don't have those underscores next to their names, so things were moving around. So we actually have 7 people here. So we do have one buffer. So Robbie, go ahead.
Can I just clarify that that the marking plan would also include parking?
Absolutely.
changes
Yeah. Well, look
would-
at whether to remove parking and where to place the bike lanes, for example. That for where we keep parking, we can look into whether it's possible to do parking per bike lanes. We look at the width and also work with the street division on the maintenance of it in the winter. We can look into where we can place buffers for the bike lane.
So,
Things like that. Mhm.
So I guess I just want to say we are not necessarily saying that the default is to leave parking. I mean,
Correct.
we are that is up in the air as to whether parking will remain if we approve this tonight.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is that all in, Robbie, for now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Pepe, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Robbie, just making sure that we leave the right note here that we're doing this effort because we want to make sure that the alternative to have safe bikeways and pedways, correspond to the whole corridor. Like, I don't want to, backtrack from what Robbie was saying, but in my mind, it's not that we are necessarily against of parking, but in this case, we need to assess parking because that's what's getting in the way to having safe ways. So we have to have safe bicycle and pedestrian ways.
Okay. Chris, go ahead.
Thanks. This seems like a good path forward. I just want to clarify. We are basically agreeing to let the project move forward, and sort of putting some trust in staff to make it better. Because we're not going to come back later and say this didn't. It feels like there's not an opportunity to come back later and say, "Oh, we didn't get there." Right? We're sort of putting our faith in the process to this project will turn out better than it is now.
Right, with the understanding, I think that the pavement markings could be and will be considered to be moved. So, Yang, go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you, Chris. Yeah. Exactly. We're asking a little bit of faith, and also we'll want to hold ourselves accountable as well, our staff. Right. We'll come back with different alternatives, on how to assign the street right away, and you can approve or not approve at that time. So hopefully we can figure out the best compromise at that time. I saw Tom has things to add as well, so I'll turn over to Tom.
Thanks, Yang. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I think I mirror the concerns expressed by the commission. I think it's always helpful to have multiple alternatives maybe presented so that the commission and policymakers can see that there was some give and take. I will say one example where what is being proposed by Yang occurred was on Milwaukee Street, where the project was let, and we actually changed the whole pavement marking scheme on Milwaukee Street to provide the bike lanes and the road diet. So I think this can occur, and for as long as I'm here, I'm confident that our staff will come back and provide perhaps a couple of alternatives so that the commission can evaluate the merit of the parking. It seems like it is a little bit unfortunate that there's kind of one alternative presented to the commission, and I think I echo Yang and I say we'll come back and give you a couple of alternatives.
So thank you all. And I do want to say we do appreciate what staff has done here to try and improve safety, particularly the pedestrian islands and all of that. So it's not that we don't appreciate that. Apologies if we didn't make that clear. What I heard was, and Yang, listen carefully and tell me if you think this reflects what you and Tom and others were talking about. You're asking us to improve the overall geometrics with the understanding that staff will bring marking plans back with consideration of removing some parking to improve bike lanes. Does that reflect your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe if possible, maybe even some other small tweaks. For example, like, island placement,
Sure.
as long as does not significantly impact engineering's work on moving this forward, I think we can consider that. And I think we can also try to get on this as soon as we can, so that, just in case that, this body does not like anything that, staff come up with, maybe that's their chance to, stop the project at that time. I think that's also possible. We have seen, disruptions at any stages of the whole project process. But I think this will at least give a chance for our colleagues engineering to move the project forward, to get the pavement issue addressed, get the sewer issues addressed, for better safety and for lower maintenance cost. So I think you captured everything. Thank you, Dan.
And I would say that I have strong confidence in staff doing what they're telling us that they plan to do. So what has been proposed is that the Transportation Commission approve the overall geometrics with the understanding that staff will bring marking plans back with the consideration of removing some parking to improve bike lanes. And I threw that last part in there because it seems really important to everybody that it's clear that there should be some consideration for an alternative showing removing some parking. So what do people think about that proposal? In the spirit of Renee Callaway, we're all working here together to try and come up with a solution that can work for everybody and keep the project moving at the pace that we hope that it can. So what are your thoughts? I'll read it one more time. Prove the overall geometrics with the understanding that staff will bring marking plans back with the consideration of removing some parking to improve bike lanes. What are your thoughts? And is somebody willing to make that motion? Robbie?
Yeah, I will move what you said.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? It was basically what Yang said, but maybe just clarified a little bit or added on to. Chris?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Robbie, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Okay, so discussion. We've worked really hard at telling everybody how we feel, and staff has really heard and responded in a way that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Yang and Tom, will keep us moving forward and hopefully being able to start something this year, but allow the Transportation Commission to have an option to review some different alternatives with regard to possibly removing parking and maybe improving some of those, maybe buffering some bike lanes, potentially, or improving them anyway. Okay, so any other discussion? Okay, I am going to assume a unanimous consent vote unless anybody wishes a roll call vote or wishes to vote no or abstain. So let me know if you'd like a roll call vote. Otherwise, I'm going to assume we're all on board with this plan. Okay, I'm seeing no hands, so the motion is carried unanimously. Yang?
Yeah, I just want to thank Commission for the trust in staff, the guidance and the support, so we can move forward. And I want to thank staff for all the work on this. So I know you all care about moving the city to a new direction that really prioritize, pedestrian bike safety. I totally believe like every of our staff member is on board. I really appreciate the good work in that. Everybody, has really, support complete green streets. But I think that shows that, implementation of the guide is also very, very, not just by come up with a guide, but also, how to implement that. And I think for this, this example, we learn lesson as well, in the future that, right, for, try to, anticipate, all the situations, not just the new streets for sure,
Yeah.
streets
Oh,
and
yeah.
others.
Go ahead. Can you repeat that? We lost you for just a minute there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm saying that I recognize staff's intention, right, to prioritize pedestrian bicycle safety and accommodations, and buy into the complete green streets value, but I think definitely there are things on the implementation side we can learn how to do that better. So I think that not only because we have a guide we're done, but really that's just a start for our work. We really need to work on the the continuous implementation, and we'll do better on that, especially for the the resurfacing projects and other type of projects. Typically, happens automatically. We done every, just got resurfaced and we put back marking as it was before. So I think that, we need to make sure we look into improvements there. So, yeah,
Thank you, Yang. I'd just like to say that I think staff did such a great job, and the Transportation Policy and Planning Board and the Transportation Commission on complete green streets, that expectations have been set really high. So everybody looks at complete green streets and says, let's do whatever we can, wherever we can, even if it's not a full reconstruction, to change things so that we can meet these aspirations in the guide. So I really value the discussion that we had tonight, but at the same time, I mean, the commission is so passionate and so well educated on complete green streets that we get great conversation and great ideas. At the same time, recognizing, like Chris did, the importance of timing, but also we do want staff to realize that we understand time pressures, and we do understand and appreciate the suggestions that you did make for improving safety as well. So thanks to everybody for hopefully reaching an acceptable resolution for all, and we'll look forward to seeing your plans with regard to markings when you bring them back. So, okay, thanks everybody. So next we have crossover reports from TC members with regard to other BCCs that you're on. Do you have any reports this evening? I'm not seeing any hands. Announcements. I just wanted to remind everybody that Tom is retiring in April. I believe April 20th was the date that I was told. So we'll have an honoring resolution for Tom at the next meeting. I don't know of any other announcements, unless Yang, you have anything else for Tom? No. Okay. In terms of future agenda items, we have a number of resolutions that may be coming at the next meeting. Some that have been pushed forward, potentially taxi cab operators license renewals, Metro Transit August service changes, and a public hearing is scheduled in April. Obviously, the first on the agenda would be the resolution honoring Tom Lynch, possibly discussion on passenger rail, and maybe some Safe Streets Madison projects, depending on timing. We did add the transit-oriented development to our list of future agenda items from TC members. Anybody have anything else that they'd like us to consider adding to a future agenda? Okay, not seeing any hands. Thanks again for a greatly participative meeting. I am so honored to be part of this group. Really active and committed commissioners. So we need a motion to adjourn. Chris?
Yeah, I move that we adjourn.
And Robbie?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, and I'm going to assume unanimous consent vote. And thanks, everybody, so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.